sometimes truths are a lot easier to grab hold of when you see a story. Well, one of my favorite stories comes out of China and out of the book of Exodus. So I'm in China. I've been to China 29 times in the last 11 years teaching biblical bioethics and crisis intervention strategies to the church in China. And one of the places that I went to, the call to rescue was made clear to everybody, and two of the leaders that were there, two women, went home that night, and their neighbor was being forced into abortion. It was her second child, and in China at this time you were only allowed one child. And they brought the woman back to me the next day, and they said to me, "Don't worry, Pastor John, don't worry about this woman. We're going to stay with her. We're going to be like the midwives in Egypt." In other words, these women were recalling the midwife story as a way to inspire their own actions. They were recalling how the midwives lived also in a time in which they were being forced by law into child killing. In that context, it was the intentional killing of the baby boys that they were instructed to kill immediately upon birth. But the midwives, it said, feared God and let the babies live. And my two sisters in China were saying, don't worry, we are going to fear God, and we're going to make sure that we provide all the help this woman needs to have her baby. A year later, I was back in that same part of China teaching another group of pastors, and these two women showed up again. And they said to me, yes, indeed, we stayed with her. Her husband abandoned her in order to not lose his job, because if he violates the one-child policy of the time, he would have been punished. So her husband left, but the church stuck with her. The baby was born, a second beautiful son. Never got sick, never had the flu, never had diarrhea, never had a cold, never had a runny nose. And it became known within the whole neighborhood that this child seemed to be blessed by God. And the testimony of these two women so influenced this woman and her husband that he repented, joined the church, and became a testimony throughout that area that God, who knows how to make a baby, knows how to feed a baby. And they got all that from the midwives of Egypt. So you go back to the midwives of Egypt. They feared God and let the babies live. It wasn't rescuing the babies that God rewarded them for. Actually, the text says that it was because they feared God that He gave them families. But how does He know that they feared God? Because they rescued the babies. And that's the connection between faith and good works. They feared God, and it taught them to rescue their babies. So it is with me, and so it is with you. It is our fear of God or our love of God that is automatically an impulse in us to rescue the innocent, if we just allow it to have that effect upon us.